Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with David Hellman of DallasCowboys.com.
All right, what a win for the Cowboys in L.A. It was a dramatic ebbs and flows, a game that had massive plays, big plays, of course, turnovers as well. And then you look up at the end, and it's 17-17 or 14-14 at one point with all of the 10-yard plays. I tell you what, David, that was fun to watch. It really was. It was a great game to watch. Obviously, it's even better if you're a Cowboys fan or a player when you win the game. What was it about Micah Parsons? They had to do that because of the defensive ends, the injuries, and Gregory being out. Is that something he could do more often?
It damn sure better be after what we saw yesterday. Yeah, I mean, you know, look, I got to be honest. I didn't expect him to do that much of it yesterday, but that's what made him valuable enough to draft 12th overall. That was the narrative all through the draft process, was that an off-ball linebacker is not worth a top 12 pick unless he's going to do some stuff like that to contribute to your pass rush and disrupt the passing game. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, it's worth noting that he was going against the backup tackle. Brian Bulaga missed that game. But for him to go in there on basically no notice and get 39 snaps rushing the passer and do such an amazing job of it, I mean, it was incredible. And I think it's just a glimpse of how much talent he has and how the Cowboys might be able to harness it to improve his defense.
David, you mentioned last week adaptive offense, and that was certainly what we saw. We have not seen the exact same game plan 2 weeks in a row. The Cowboys ran the ball. They ran a lot with Tony Pollard. He had a fantastic game, and they didn't try to win the game by throwing the ball 60 times. You kind of nailed it last week, but it was impressive to see Kellen Moore shift into something that he knew would work better.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. You know, for so many years, Jason Garrett's mantra was kind of, we know our strengths and we're going to play to them and we're going to do what we do to win games. And I just think it's an antiquated way of thinking. What you should be trying to do is maximize your talent on offense to take advantage of what that defense is offering you. And Kellen actually just talked to the media a little while ago and classified it as aggressively taking what you're given, which is to say, you're still going to take shots. You're still going to try to push the ball downfield and score points. But going back to last week, why bash your head against the wall against an amazing run defense? Well, this week you're presented with a lot of too high looks. The Chargers purposefully keep a light box because they're trying to take big passing plays out of the game. And the Cowboys said, yeah, that's awesome. We'll run for 200 yards instead. I mean, there's no one way to do this thing. And I think that's a really encouraging sign that Kellen Moore seems to have such a good grasp of that.
How good is it to see what Trayvon Diggs is doing as well, David?
Looks like a Pro Bowler, man. I mean, I talked about this on one of our podcasts today. I was kind of reluctant to crown him during training camp because, you get into these bubbles where you watch guys and you're like, all right, is he really that good, or am I just watching him every day and maybe I need to see him go against some other competition? Well, it doesn't get much tougher to start a season out than Mike Evans followed by Keenan Allen. And not only has he done a fantastic job in coverage, but he's also taking the ball away. I mean, we're used to seeing, the leader on the Dallas defense in interceptions most years over the last decade has had 2 or 3 on the year. Well, Trayvon's got 2 after 2 games. So yeah, I mean, if he keeps this up, he's on an awfully impressive trajectory.
Yeah, and just, I know Philadelphia's next, and that's obviously they focus in on that, but no matter what, just the statistics, no matter if the NFC East can be a mess, 0-2 is 0-2. Doesn't mean you can't come out of that hole, but 0-2 is 0-2, and especially with the possibility there might be more attrition just because it's football. Can you put a number without overrating how important that might have been yesterday?
I don't know how to put a number on it, but I think you're absolutely right. And even, if you want to look at it, even in a glass half empty kind of way, you can look at it now and say, all right, even if we lose to Philadelphia, that's not the end of the world. We're 1 game below 500. All it takes is 1 good game to climb back out of that hole. Now, obviously, if you want to be a good team, you've got to start stacking consecutive wins at some point. But the thought of being 1-2 versus 0-3, just think about how absolutely massive that is. And it's the same way as 0-2 versus 1-1. It keeps you alive to the sense of, you don't have to climb out of a hole before you can start stacking things together. So I'm curious to see how this goes, because they got 3 straight home games and they've got 4 straight games against teams where you think they would be favored. Even the road trip to New England, it's not Tom Brady up there anymore. It's a rookie quarterback. I know Bill Belichick's amazing, but that's just not as daunting of a task as it's been for the last 20 or so years. So no idea if they're going to win all of them, but if they are as good as people hope they are, this is a big opportunity for them. They kind of weathered this storm, 2 road games against 2 good teams, and now they've got a chance to make some hay.
David, I am curious your thoughts on the explanation by Mike McCarthy on the time management at the end of the game. For a second there, watching on TV, I thought, is he playing for a 56-yard field goal, or what is going on here? And he said the clock was blocked, but isn't there somebody telling him, like, hey, you better hurry up, in his headset? Yeah,
I mean, from the sounds of it, it was just an absolute cluster F on a variety of levels. The clock McCarthy was looking at went out, which I've had people that were on the field verify that for me. It did happen. But even still, in a modern stadium with all these LED boards, you'd think there's probably 80 ways to look at the clock by now, which ironically, so then that happens to Kellen Moore. Kellen was just telling us, one of the sideline camera operators, the guys in the little go-karts that drive up and down the sideline, he drove in front of Kellen's clock. So now Kellen can't see that. So Kellen and Mike are talking to the box about what's happening. And while all this is happening, Tony Pollard got some confusion about who was supposed to be on the field. So now Tony's all the way over outside the numbers, way away from the huddle. So by the time he's going to get back out there, you're going to be below 20 or so seconds. And now it's starting to get dicey about whether you've got enough time to run a play. And they ultimately, once they got under 17 or 16 seconds, they were like, let's not push our luck. We're inside Zerline's range. Let's just go for the field goal. So they didn't do it on purpose. But it's a comedy of errors that it got to that point. Obviously, nobody's going to harp too much on it because they won the game. But, that's really disconcerting. Hopefully you think they'd spend some extra time on that moving forward so stuff like that doesn't happen anymore.
What was your level of confidence as you lined up for that kick?
It's never a given.
Right.
But I didn't think it was hopeless. I watched him. Ironically, I watched Zerline all through pregame, and he did like 8 kicks on each side of the field, and he made one from 58 going the other way. And I was like, okay, he's definitely got the range to make this. But I guess what I didn't see, maybe I was eating lunch or talking to somebody in the press box, but apparently he missed from that range going the other way twice during pregame. So plenty of reason for concern, but for whatever reason, I didn't see it. So I was like, yeah, he made this in pregame. He should be fine.
Yeah, I saw this note, David. You know how we hear that young quarterbacks are playing earlier perhaps than ever? I saw this note of the NFL sends out these notes, and I was going to ask you about this. 6 rookie quarterbacks have already attempted a pass this season. There's more younger quarterbacks playing what appears to be earlier than ever, but it's the most since the last time was 1971 that 6 rookie quarterbacks have attempted a pass in their first 2 weeks of the season since 1971. Would you have thought that was a bigger number?
Probably not, just because, if you think about it, in any given year, there's usually only 3 or 4 quarterbacks worth taking in the first round. And even then, one of those guys is probably going to be drafted toward the later end of the round where it's a better team drafting him and they've got some time to be a little more patient. So, like, in a given year, you're only usually ever getting, like, 1 or 2 guys who are the man from day one. So, it's not really what's more surprising to me is that in 1971, 6 rookie quarterbacks played. That was back in the day when a team held your rights forever and a rookie could sit for like 5 years and it wouldn't be a big deal. Which I think it's a fascinating conversation, the way the league has evolved. Obviously quarterbacks are better prepared than they ever have been because of how much they're playing these days. there's way more impetus to get them on the field because of the cheap contracts and, how much it can help your salary cap having a young quarterback playing at a high level. It's a really interesting conversation, but I'm not surprised. And then you factor in the injuries that have gotten some of these other rookies on the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super crazy to me. What's really interesting to me is that in 1971, 6 rookies were playing. I would have never guessed that.
No, I wouldn't have either. But that's the case. That's crazy. And those quarterback injuries. Now the Cowboys have one of the healthiest quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, which going back to my point, and nothing's a given in the NFL. I get that. We were laughing today that this, Tampa and LA looked like these big bad games, and you kind of thought of Carolina as more of an easy game, and now Carolina's off to a 2-0 start. They just kicked New Orleans, so you never know anything for sure. But the Cowboys have the better quarterback in their next 6 games. I'm very confident of that. And if you've got the better quarterback, you've got a great chance to win. So that goes back to the point of you kind of weathered this 2-week storm. And now if they're good, they've got a chance to really build some momentum, I think.
Why are they using the taunting call? Whose feelings are hurt here?
I can't stand it.
Killing me, man.
I hate it a lot.
I'm giving the NFL a chance. Last year I didn't watch much of it and didn't really watch. The last couple of years it's been fading for me. I know it's an incredible league and I know it's a popular, massive league. But I'm watching. The primetime games have all been amazing. That Cowboys-Chargers game was amazing. But it's just it's killing me that they're doing that. I don't know if they'll change it because they're so damn stubborn, but it makes no sense to me at all. What did you say?
Well, hopefully,
go ahead. Yeah.
I agree with you. The league's way too stubborn to change the rule, but we've seen this before where they overcall things in the early going of a season to set a precedent and then kind of relax on it. I'm hoping that's the case because it's so stupid. And I know the players don't care. To me, it's just crusty old ownership, not understanding a new generation, whatever you want to call it. But these guys literally put their health on the line and have no job security, and to ask them to play the game without emotion, I think it's just silly. I think it detracts from the quality. I love when Tyreek Hill throws the peace sign up at a guy when he's going to the house. I think it's fun. These guys make a lot of money. Their feelings will be fine. So hopefully the NFL comes to their senses a little bit.
I don't know if a lot of guys go over the sideline and they're, what's upset? He said a mean thing to me. Yeah. I don't think that happens.
I think they'll be just fine.
If a guy if he slams his face mask into another player's face mask,
that's a little different. Yeah.
Well, that's a personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct. But somebody spinning the ball at the feet, Santana Moss used to do that all the time. And all right. Anything else? You got anything else? Hey, David, great stuff. Thank you, sir. Cowboys beat the Chargers. Philadelphia next. Thank you. How about this stat? Go ahead.
Philadelphia has Zach Ertz in the COVID protocol now, but he's vaccinated apparently.